Okay, welcome to the Greater Travelers Rest Chamber Wednesday webinar series. I would like to welcome Blaine Statom and Betsy Steifle with Bank of Travelers Rest. They are here to talk about banking and business during COVID-19. And this is a topic that many of our chamber members expressed interest in as they try to pivot their business. And we're going to do more of a Q&A discussion for this session. And if you have questions, we certainly welcome you to place them in our comment section available in the Zoom. So take it away, Blaine.
Sure, yeah, thank you for having us. I know as a lender, one of the most popular questions that I get is how can I improve my credit score? So we really appreciate the opportunity to discuss such an important topic.
Wonderful. Now, I know that we were discussing a few weeks ago, we're trying to figure out what kind of topic we wanted to cover for today. And you and Betsy wanted to talk about the business banking in a changing environment. And traditionally, bankers have summed up business client relationships with the 5 C's of credit. So based on our conversation this last time, it's very important today as you work with clients during these times. Can you elaborate for the audience a little bit about those 5 C's?
Sure. So just to list them, well, the 5 C's of credit are as relevant today as they were pre-COVID, but just to list them out, that they are character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. So if we just want to jump into the first one, character is defined as someone's willingness to repay. It can be gauged by the credit scoring process. So there's several items that can affect the credit score, and that's one of the questions I get asked the most. But credit card usage is really important. They like to see that you keep it at 33% or below. The number of inquiries that you have on your credit. So how many times have you put in a loan application, someone's pulled your credit report? Whether or not you have any collections that are outstanding and still have a balance, any late payments out there, and then new credit lines as well. So like if you have a lot of credit on there, but it's all brand new, that can affect your score as well.
And character really becomes especially important when economic uncertainty comes into play. If you currently have any bank loans or really any type of loan, it's important to sit down with the creditors and honestly and open discuss the challenges the business is facing. And when you establish that type of partnership, you can more successfully navigate through the issues together, working towards that win-win. Like I know a lot of businesses in the traveler's rest market, especially that I've talked to, they said right now their business is actually booming, that they've had a lot of things, fireworks. Who knew that, you know, people are going to stay home, they're trying to entertain at home, fireworks sales are going through the roof. Bicycles, you know, outdoor equipment is going off the shelves very quickly. So it may not be that the customer demand has gone down, but the ability to get inventory for your businesses has become quite challenging in this environment. So you might have to pay a little bit more for the inventory, in which case you might have to have a larger line of credit. So it's just important that you keep the conversation, and that conversation becomes, you know, throughout your relationship with the bank. That's also a way in which you're building your character with the bank because you're working through things together. And it's especially difficult to get those open lines of communication when economic uncertainty comes in, because you're so busy running your business and trying to stop the bleeding that you're trying to diversify into different revenue streams, that finding the time to sit down and talk can be challenging. But that just is really important to help establish that character for yourself and for your business.
I can certainly see how some businesses might be overwhelmed with the speed that business has changed. I mean, many businesses went from open to closed in a day, right? And it's a relief to know that if you can reach out to your creditors during these times and work together to try to find a solution, and it can help alleviate stress on both sides of the equation. And it helps build that long-term relationship that's going to be beneficial for everyone. So you told me the second C is capacity. So how does business capacity affect a company's ability to borrow?
Sure. Capacity is defined as someone's ability to repay the loan, also known as debt to income. That's the term that we use here a lot, debt to income. So basically, if a customer takes on the additional debt, are they going to have the capacity to repay it? And then alternatively, when the income drops, can you still service your existing debt? So I know 2020 business revenue streams have been challenged with the shutdowns, the government mandatory shutdowns, and they have decreased customer contact, less in-store car purchases. So all of that could affect the capacity.
So what has the bank seen other businesses do that helped identify that there's a capacity issue within their business?
Well, as industries face new challenges, you have the opportunity to kind of take a step back and analyze your current business plan. And obviously that has been never truer than with COVID, because no one's been in a pandemic before. So I think we've had several customers that have been able to review the industry as a whole and maybe find some of the gaps and concentrate on filling those gaps during this time, which creates new revenue stream. A couple of areas, your restaurant industry, obviously they were shut down. Obviously people don't want to be, in a lot of cases, inside the restaurant. So you see places like Tandem and Upcountry and Short Fields all creating that outdoor space for their customers so that they can. Now it's going to get challenging because as winter comes and it gets cold, now you're looking at covering that area. Do you get heaters for that area? So they still have challenges ahead, and it doesn't look like COVID is going to be going away anytime soon. So people are still going to be cognizant of that. So I think that is a great example of how some businesses have been able to pivot. I know that Shortfields did their takeout, family night takeout in Simpsonville. They saw that really take off in Simpsonville, where that actually became a great new revenue stream for them. So think about looking at different businesses, looking at areas where you could fill those gaps and create new revenue streams, since some of your older revenue streams might not be producing as much income. So in addition, many banks on the other side, when you see your income dropping, are deferment programs that were offered. The programs can allow you to defer entire payments, place them on balloons at the end of your loan. Of course, you want to make sure you understand how those programs are working, but they can lower your monthly outlay of cash and help protect that cash flow that's so important during economic uncertainty. And then it's just the basic takeaway is the stabilization of your business. You want to study the business and assess the financials by analyzing your P&Ls and cash flow monthly, compare them to prior years, and see where your business might be bleeding. Cauterize the losses and open new passive income to help conserve the business's capital and maintain the company's capacity.
Speaking of capital, the Bank of Travelers Rest was instrumental in getting CARES Act money to many of our local businesses. Can you speak to the PPP, the EIDL, and the local and state CARES Act programs and how they assisted with capital?
Yeah, so the PPP funding was a critical outlay of cash for employees, and then EIDL was important for continuation of business operations. Without these two programs, it would have been really difficult for a lot of businesses to have survived, especially with the shutdowns. I know that the CARES Act is still ongoing, both for the state and the county, and those have been really beneficial as well. I've seen a lot of local businesses, especially in travel dress, benefit from that one, just to help just get more capital.
And these programs, while changing daily, were very instrumental, and we saw a big capital problem with the Great Recession due to the length of the downturn and how leveraged customers were. And businesses didn't have the capital to sustain 3 to 4 years worth of recession. And that's when we saw a lot of businesses going out of business, and then in turn their employees not being able to make loan payments because they didn't have jobs anymore. But luckily, many businesses after the Great Recession deleveraged their companies, and so there was a little bit more capital in the marketplace this go round that I think during the Great Recession. But with a drastic decrease, you know, COVID did hit the capital, and so the PPP and those funds helped sustain those businesses.
And I also think that by pushing out the PPP through the banks, the government was able to get money to the business owners and employees faster than through unemployment and the SBA EIDL grants. It's still changing, but the PPP forgiveness process has luckily been pretty smooth, provided that you can supply the documentation that's necessary to complete the application. And then with the Local CARES Act reimbursing PPP and the state helping companies with damaged profit and losses, there's been a lot of assistance to help business owners get through. So there's still a lot of industries that we see that are going to go under just because they have no capital left and they're unable to open still. And example of those would be like a movie theater, some of the bars, I think that some of those we may see go under.
Two of my favorite places to go, right?
Yeah.
So what challenges would you say that businesses are having now? And do you feel that businesses need an influx of capital to possibly get back to where they were?
Yeah, I think many of the challenges that businesses are facing now is exactly what we're talking about with the inventory. I mean, when I checked with some of the appliance industries, I mean, I don't think you can get a refrigerator from Jeff Lynch right now until January. So you see that affecting builders. So if you are a Crescent Homes or you're a D.R. Horton, and now all of a sudden you have 30 houses, you can't put a refrigerator in, you can't close that house. If you can't close that house, you can't get your final payment. And you can't get your final payment, you can't pay your subcontractors. And our subcontractors are living in our communities and they have payments they need to be making. And it just goes down that, trickles down from there. Another thing that, you know, your inventory is having a hard time. I mentioned the firework industry. You know, if you did not order 3 crates worth of fireworks in January and cross your fingers hoping you could sell them, by the time you got to July 4th, you were calling a competitor to beg them if you could buy fireworks from them, because the increased demand in fireworks just shot up drastically. Another area that you see that in, like we had mentioned, was the outdoor equipment. So I think some of the challenges that people are facing now is going to be inventory, demand, unless you're still shut down, but inventory, the ability to get your inventory. Once you have the inventory, to get that inventory to you. I know for the winter, all the large retailers have already purchased all the shipping capacity. So how do you get your product out in a digital world where people are now going on and ordering online from your retail shop that's in downtown, you know, Travelers Rest, and making sure you can get those shipments out when all the shipping capacities are already been purchased by Amazon and those big retailers. So I think those are some of the challenges that may be coming up now, as well as with the weather, which we talked about with the restaurant industry.
Okay. What challenges do you believe businesses will have when they're approaching their bank for additional lending needs?
So the 4th C was collateral. In some cases where the inventory is difficult to get, you know, it'd be hard to get an inventory loan when there is no collateral there or on there. So I think that could be some challenges. I also think that when you're showing, you know, your P&Ls need to be strong, and you need to have a plan. So you need to be able to show the bank, okay, here's where we were last year, here's where we are today, this is why, but this is where we feel like we're going to be in the future. You need to have those discussions with their bank so that they can see, okay, yes, this is temporary. COVID's temporary. It may last a year, it may last 2 years, but it's heavily not going to last 5 years with the cash flow. And so we want to have those discussions where you're projecting what the business is going to look like in the future. So real estate's still doing good.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that real estate's still doing quite well, especially in this area. People are still moving here. They're still moving to Greenville, still moving to Travelers Rest. Greenville's growing. It still ranks as one of the fastest growing places in the country. And then Travelers Rest has also been cited several times as one of the coolest small towns in South Carolina. So that makes real estate a really good, strong collateral in our current market.
And I know if I can back up a little bit, one of your questions, which I don't think I answered fully, was how, if you think that businesses will need an injection of capital. And I think in some cases you might need an injection of capital just to, if you've been shut down, to kind of ramp your business back up, because you're going to have new lines of businesses, digital capacity. People may need loans to increase the digital footprint that their business has, but also you might have had to cut lines of, cut areas that maybe you need an influx of cash, and that's where a loan could be used to kind of get that influx of cash to get you back to where you were. Or you may need help increasing your lines of credit. So in the short term, when you're having to purchase more inventory to cover the demand, that you have that flexibility there on that.
Okay. Yeah, it's just speaking to the coolest small towns. That's what brought me here. But of course, now I'm jealously like, no one else come. This is enough. So I believe that actually brings us to our final C, which is conditions. What are conditions of a loan?
Yeah, so conditions point to the purpose of the loan, the amount of the loan, current interest rates, some additional items that banks may want to see, especially during an economic hardship, are have you identified options for new growth? Have you stabilized your business, and do you know what your loss leaders are? Have you formulated a turnaround strategy for the company? Do you understand the risk and costs that are associated? And then what is your timeline for recovery?
Okay. And will the bank work with you to kind of answer those questions?
Yeah, we definitely will. Like, yeah, I think a lot of people need help with those questions.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. One last thing I wanted to be sure to mention was the scores. Could you take some time to explain what SCORE is and how our businesses could contact them for more information?
Mm-hmm. SCORE provides business advice. They have about 10,000 business experts, and many that are located in the local area. And they're a nonprofit that works with the SBA. So there's no fee. There's no fee to use that service. So it really is a great way if you have any questions, or if you want to bounce something off a mentor. You could do those meetings face to face or do a video chat. But they're experienced in all areas. So, if you're having challenges with bouncing back, it's a great avenue. If you're having challenges getting inventory or figuring out shipping problems, it's a great tool to use. If you need to turn the business around, there's mentors that have done that. So I think if you have any kind of questions, they have a mentor that they can pair you with that knows how to suggest things that your business could do to maybe be in a better position. But there is a link on the City of Travelers Rest website, and Jenny has up on the screen. You just go to the city's website. At the top across the bars is businesses. And then when the menu drops down, you're going to choose business owners and then business support. And that will lead you to the SCORE section where you can find a mentor. But the city has some great resources on their website for the businesses. So I'd encourage you to hop on and use those as well.
Okay. Well, I thank you both for taking the time to review the challenges businesses are having today, and why it's still important to keep those 5 C's in the forefront of our minds as we move forward with any credit needs. I did have your contact information up here in case anybody wants to get a hold of you. Any last words or anything to close us out for this afternoon?
I don't think so. We really appreciate the opportunity, and like you said, our contact information's there. If anybody has any questions, we'll be glad to help you out.
Yep.
Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.